Conservation Ag Update is brought to you by Yokohama.
Great to have you with us for another edition of Conservation Ag Update. I'm your host, Noah Newman, Technology Editor. Let's kick things off in Frankenmuth, Michigan, where the Conservation Technology Information Center hosted its 16th annual Conservation and Action Tour. Farmers, students, and researchers gathered to share ideas about conservation practices. Executive Director Ryan Heiniger, who's actually in his first year with CTIC, made a few big announcements. Let's recap them right now. Number one, an in-depth report from a cover crop survey of nearly 900 farmers is coming out in early August. Number two, a new Climate Smart Ag Connector app is launching in early 2024. It will help growers find conservation programs in their area. And number three, CTIC is expanding its operational tillage information system.
One of our long-running projects called the Operational Tillage Information System, otherwise known as OPTIS. It's a partnership with a company called Regrow and with the Nature Conservancy that tracks trends for both conventional tillage, no-till, conservation till, as well as winter cover and cover crops. And so we're building that out right now from 16 states to the lower 48 states in the country. That'll be data that'll be released here later in 2023, but that runs consistent with some of CTIC's very early work to again track trends. And of course, in this case, it's using cutting edge satellite technology algorithms to be able to detect this at a landscape level.
And there was one more big announcement from Ryan, a pretty big surprise we'll get to later in the program. Speaking of announcements, it is time to meet the 2023 Strip-Till Innovator Award recipients. They are, drumroll, Ryan and Melissa Shaw of Marlette, Michigan. The Shaws are boosting their bottom line and soil health with cover crops and twin row planting on their 1,400-acre corn, soybean, and sugar beet farm. So they bought an ETS Soil Warrior and went all in on strip-till in 2014, which was very uncommon in the thumb of Michigan. It wasn't an easy transition, but twin row strip-till is paying off in the form of fewer field passes, lower fuel costs, and an average yield bump of 15 bushels per acre. And every season, Ryan says they're learning something new.
We actually are a little different than most with the twin row corn. We plant the following year right over the corn stubble, and we never move our planting zone. So where we have these cover crops is actually our never till area, and we're always planting in that same planting zone. So when we do single row sugar beets, we're actually planting them in a seed bed between the twin row corn root balls. So that took a little bit, 3 or 4 years to try and get brave enough to do it on a volume of acres. The first few years we only tried it on a 30 here or a 40 there, just to see if we were going to be able to make it work. And each year we seemed to find something that we wanted to tweak a little more, whether it was not dislodge the root balls or just slice them, run the row cleaners in the fall or not. And each year, I guess you tweak it a little bit, and then the weather changes its mind the next year, and Mother Nature always wins.
Learn more about the Shaw's journey on striptillfarmer.com. They'll also talk about the keys to their success at the National Strip-Tillage Conference in Bloomington, Illinois, August 3rd. You can head to striptillconference.com for more information or to register. Moving on now to our farmer feature. Stepping into the spotlight this week is first-generation farmer James Hepp of Rockwell City, Iowa. The no-tiller is in year 4 of his transition from crop insurance salesman to full-time corn and soybean farmer. Here's a look at his heavily modified Case IH 1200 pivot fold no-till planter. So we could fill the entire broadcast talking about all the bells and whistles on this thing, but right now let's talk about the newest addition to James's planter, one that he wasn't quite sure would work.
This year I decided to throw on some chains I had, and I thought there's no way that would ever work in no-till, but I was wrong. They worked amazing. These chains, a lot of times when you're planting, you might get about 95% of the trench closed up, but you're not quite happy. These guys seem to really finish the job and just smooth off, and it amazes me, it's always dragging just a little bit of dirt, and that dirt just finds whatever's open. I even flagged stuff that I was concerned about in season, came back. Besides the flight, you couldn't tell there was a problem. So I was sold on them. It's really inexpensive, but I just never thought they'd work because you'd think corn stalks would get in them, but not the case at all. So I highly recommend everybody should have these.
James is a very smart guy, as you can tell there. Check out the No-Till Farmer YouTube page for the full 10-minute rundown of all the unique features on his planter. It is time for the Cover Crop Connection. For that, let's send it over to our good friend, McCain Vogel.
Thanks, Noah. McCain Vogel here, Assistant Editor for Cover Crop Strategies. We caught up with APV America's Cameron White and asked about the importance of planting cover crops and the increasing demand among farmers for cover crop equipment. Here's what he had to say.
People are going to have to start planting cover crops. We only have a certain amount of soil on the earth. You know, there's no more coming in. So if we can protect that for longer, again, governments are giving grants, stipulations to go out and have these farmers plant cover crops. Once that becomes a well-practiced thing, I see this business completely getting away from a lot of chemicals and pesticides and herbicides, and doing it in a more natural way with cover crops. So I think in the next 5 to 10 years, we'll see a total increase in cover crop planting. I mean, if you look back 5 years ago, we've already made strides and bounds from where we were then. It's becoming a practice that everybody's using, so I see it being a big application.
Myself, Noah, and some of our other editors will be at this year's Farm Progress Show in Decatur, Illinois, so be sure to check back with us in September to see our coverage of all the latest cover crop and conservation ag technology from the event. Back to you, Noah.
Great stuff as always. Thank you very much, McCain. Let's go ahead of the curve now with Luke Schultes. He's the owner and operator of Viola Drone Service in Audubon, Iowa. The business uses drones to perform fungicide and pasture spraying, seed cover crops, and scout with multispectral imagery. Luke's always finding new ways to use drones on his own farm. He's actually using them to apply pre-emergence herbicide, biologicals, cereal rye, even red clover into standing soybeans as a relay crop, and more. The return on investment has been great, Luke says.
It's pretty versatile, and cost efficiency is huge. You know, a machine like this that can cover our family farm costs 10% of what a sprayer would, a late model sprayer from any of the big manufacturers as a young farmer is kind of outside my budget. So doing a machine that I can operate on a smaller machine on smaller acres, I guess, is kind of the name of the game, and it's more efficient. My ROI and margin has been huge. Definitely a good investment so far.
And Luke says with drones, half the work is done before you even get to the field. Planning field boundaries, routes, monitoring wind patterns, and managing the battery are the biggest challenges. Wrapping things up now with our video of the week. So remember at the beginning of the show, I said there was one more big announcement from that CTIC tour that we'd get to. Well, here it is. Frank Lessiter, the founder and editor of No-Till Farmer, was inducted into the CTIC Hall of Fame. Frank was surprised, as you can tell here. He didn't know this was coming. He was introduced as the Johnny Appleseed of conservation tillage and the 4th inductee in the organization's Hall of Fame. Frank has served as editor-in-chief of the monthly No-Till Farmer newsletter for its entire 51 years, an incredible accomplishment. He's been instrumental in helping no-till grow from 33 million acres to 110 million acres in the United States today. Congratulations, Frank. All right, story ideas, videos, photos, I would love to see them. Send them my way. Email address right here, nnewman@lespub.com. Until next time, for the latest headlines and features, head to no-tillfarmer.com. Thanks for watching Conservation Ag Update. See you next time.